the Zoom platform, but I'm going to be back in a minute. So if you can keep her close, I'll see her shortly. Yeah, so now we're live. Oh yeah, she's pretty.
She's my baby.
What's her name?
Gala Godiva.
Good. Say that one more time.
Gala Godiva.
Gala Godiva. I love it.
Like Dali's wife. Her name was Gala.
Okay.
And Godiva because she's a chocolate Havanese.
I love it.
Yeah.
She's beautiful.
She is. And
yes. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. We have 15 people in the room already. Hey, Bess, how are you? Best of Tess, how are you? It's good to see you. If you're here, say hi. We want to say hi to everybody before we get started.
There's someone at the door.
Oh, you need to go see real quick while people are coming into the room. Okay. This is
yeah.
I was babysitting my daughter's dog a couple of weeks ago, and I was doing a Saturday morning live by myself, and the dog was like barking and talking and got on my sofa and stuff like that. Guys, hi, welcome to Deep Dive with Dr. T. If you remember, we had Dr. T on about a month ago, a little over a month ago.
Yeah, it was February 11th, I think.
Yes, and we talked about past life therapy and stuff like that. Dr. T is a doctor of psychiatry, and she practices in Jacksonville, Florida. Hi, Gerard, it's nice to see you. We love you too. Hi, Nicoletta and Carmen, good to see you. I'm glad that y'all are popping in and saying hi. So tonight, Dr. T's going to talk about, I'm going to let her remind y'all who she is and exactly what she does and everything. And then we're going to talk about fear, I think is what we decided to talk about. Yes, with the panic and everything going on right now. Hi, Cajun 81. Carol, it's good to see you. Okay, guys, so this is Dr. T. Dr. T, take it over.
Hello, how are you? I'm happy to be here again.
I'm happy to have you.
Yes. So, you know, I come from a paradigm of Jungian theory, right? I've been a Jungian forever. And that gives you, like, I think it gives you a transcendental or transcendent view of things, right? And I was telling you, I'm also a teacher in Course in Miracles. I've been teaching Course in Miracles, yes, since like 2000.
I have the book Course in Miracles, and it's really hard to kind of understand it. But somebody was saying you kind of have to do it in a group to really get it. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Basically, if you want to get ahead, you know, understand it a little better, it's good to read A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson.
I've read that.
Yeah, because it kind of gives you a heads on in whatever's going on. And I became a teacher in Course in Miracles when I was going through probably one of the darkest nights of my soul. We all have that. We all go through that. And that was, I was pregnant. I was pregnant, and the father of my child did not want to do anything with me or the child. And I spent that whole pregnancy, like, it was a very painful process. And the last 3 months, I was asked to stay in bed. So that's when I because I was in so much pain and so much fear, I dug into A Course in Miracles and started to understand it, probably because I was going through such a dark time in my life. After that, I just started teaching it, and I started groups, and it was really interesting because the last group I directed lasted 3 years. And that was back in Puerto Rico. And I had people coming from all over the island. I mean, we met every 2 Fridays for 2 hours, and we read the whole book from top to bottom, and we discussed it, and we became like a family. It was something so beautiful. It was a beautiful thing. There were people who drove 2 hours just to go to that class. I mean, that was amazing. And basically what Course in Miracles says is basically that miracles are something natural, that happen naturally.
Yes.
And what a miracle does is it inverts time, the order of time. And when you're a miracle worker, you just put it out there, but you never expect a result. You just detach from the result. You do what you need to do. And in order to become a miracle worker or understand what Course in Miracles does, is you give your mind to the Holy Spirit so it can show you the truth. And what it does, it transforms basically your fear into love. So every time you go into any interaction in which you think there's going to be a difficulty, or even if it's not, you should be in constant prayer all the time. You
Right.
just become a channel for the Holy Spirit to bring that energy of love in whatever situation. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have boundaries. That has nothing to do, because love has very clear boundaries too, right? Love will tell you what you can accept and what you can't.
Yes.
So the reason I wanted to talk about fear today is because of what's going on with the coronavirus.
Yes.
Yes, this is like the pandemic is fear more than the virus itself, right? And I was meditating about what's going on. And because I know there's a higher order to everything, what I was shown and was shown to me was that we know that coronavirus is not really affecting the children. And there are 0 deaths from 0 to 9 years old.
Wow.
They have the illness, it's very mild. They are transmitting it because they have no symptoms. They're going back home and bringing it to their parents and their grandparents and their family, but the kids themselves have no symptoms. And the people who are really affected are from 70 up, and are the people who are, more sick and immunocompromised and whatnot. So what I was shown, as we all know in this community, that we are moving from the Piscean age into the Aquarian age.
Yes.
And the people over 70 are the ones that are more bound to the Piscean way of thinking, which is fear-based.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. The Piscean age being fear-based. What else is it about the Piscean age? Is it about structure and stuff?
It's about structure. It's about giving your power away. Because when you're afraid, it means you're giving your power away to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
You think you don't have the tools or you don't have the power. That's why you're afraid. Someone else is in a higher position. And that means religions.
Right.
We've given away our power to priests, for example, that are pedophiles,
Right.
and people who say they're supposed to guide us, but they turn out to be the people with the darkest shadows.
Right.
We've given away our power to politicians who turn out to have the darkest shadows.
Yeah.
So the Aquarian age is all about removing all those structures, getting our power back, and understanding that we don't have to live in fear and that we own our own power as individuals. Aquarians are the rebels, the rebels. They are the teenagers. Yeah, they're the teenagers of the zodiac.
Yeah.
They are the ones who are idealists and believe in equality and are gregarious, and they do everything in groups and, the soul groups thing. And that's the Aquarian age. So we're moving, and we're moving fast. The next 6 months are going to be a fast movement into.
We lost your audio. So we're moving fast, and then I didn't hear anything else. I lost your audio for a minute.
We're moving fast during the next 6 months into this Aquarian energy. Like the first planet that's going to move into Aquarius, I think it's Saturn, right? And it's moving in right now. Wow. And Mercury has been going back and forth between Pisces and Aquarius during this retrograde 3 times, because Mercury is trying to help us understand the change and the movement we're going to have. And then it turns out we're having this coronavirus right now, cleaning up space and making space for these new energies that are coming, this new understanding and this new order. And the next 6 months and next 4 years are part of that movement. So there's going to be a lot of commotion in the world. And we cannot cave into fear.
Right. Okay. So we're going to talk more about fear. I'd like to go through and tell everybody hello that has come in just a little bit late. I just want to remind y'all we're talking with Dr. T. That's Delia Toledo. She's a psychiatrist, a doctor of psychiatry in Jacksonville, Florida. And she was on about a month or a month and a half ago. And I wanted to have her back because she does have so much to offer as far as value goes to offer to us. So, but I want to say hi real quick. Nicoletta, hi. Carmen, hi. Carol, hi. Delilah, hi. Night Diamonds, it's good to see you. Dee, it's good to see you, Dee. Jody, I'm welcome to be in here. Anthony, Orline, Miles, D. Piscean age is, I believe, Aquarian age is the time of I know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Tony Lubbers, it's so good to see you. I miss your face. I hadn't seen you in a while. So yeah, so that's what one of our guests have said. The Piscean age is the people who like, okay, I believe, but the Aquarian age is no, I know.
Exactly. It's not, I believe what you say.
Right.
I don't give my power away. I know.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So with the coronavirus or anything else as far as fear goes, you know, what is our best course of action?
Well, first of all, we have to find that inner place of peace, right? And understand that everything that's happening is happening, first of all, for a reason.
There's a higher order.
There's a higher order.
Yes.
There's a reason why this is happening. And I think that when you're in a state of peace, your immune system is so much better. When you're meditating and connecting to source, your immune system is so much better.
Yes.
Instead of caving into fear and buying the story. You know, it's a virus, it's going to do what it needs to do. For most people, it's just going to be a mild infection, but it will do what it needs to do. We cannot buy into this media thing that it's just making money out of fear, because that's what they do, right?
Right.
That's what they're trying to do, and that's what they always do.
Right.
So yeah,
I stopped watching the news about 3 years ago.
Yes.
Probably longer than that, but one of the things that I noticed with this coronavirus is that I will every now and then jump online and look for information on it, like where's it going now. I don't get scared of it, but it's like I kind of want to know, because it seems like the kind of virus or thing, the epidemic itself, is like it's growing exponentially. Like it starts real small, but it reminds me of network marketing. Have you ever been in an MLM? You know, it's like it starts right here, then you get two, then you get more, then it grows out that way. It's kind of like the same thing, it seems like.
Yes, it's very virulent. It's very contagious.
Yes.
And it's that we have the flu, and the flu kills a lot of people. It's very contagious too. But we have a vaccine. We know what it's all about. We know the symptoms, This one, we don't know anything about it. So I think that adds up on our fear, because it's the uncertainty. We don't know what to expect. We've never had this before, and it spreads so quickly. You know, in the first 5 days, most people don't have any symptoms. So they're just spreading the virus around, I was once in a conference, a psychiatry conference. It was very interesting. And this guy came from Arizona, from a research institute. And he had a study that they had done. They had put a device in people that would measure how social they were, right? And it was during flu season. So they were measuring how social people were. And then the people who got the flu, and they knew these people got the flu around because, the prodromal time and when they have the symptoms. And what they found out was that once a person is infected with the flu virus, they become more social. The virus affects your behavior. This is why it was being brought up to a psychiatrist, to understand how some foreign virus or bacteria can affect your behavior. So the virus made sure that it would spread before you were sick and had to stay home
Wow.
to come, to go over your flu. That was for me like, oh my God,
Yeah. Yeah.
because those are living entities too. And they
Yeah.
have a role. They want to survive. And
Yes.
we're their hosts.
Yes.
That was amazing. That was an amazing discovery.
That's an amazing, I'd never heard that. That's wild. Okay, so let's see. Tyler Cruz. Hi, Tyler. How are you? It's good to see you. TA. Hi, TA. TA's in Cocoa Beach. You're in Jacksonville, right? TA, it's good to see you. I miss seeing your face. Hi, Michelle. Good to see you. I'm glad to have you here. Elizabeth, love from Northwoods of Wisconsin. Nice to have you. Okay, so with the, if y'all have questions for Dr. T, go ahead and put them on, put question marks before and after so I can catch them if y'all don't mind. I'm trying to figure out how to learn the best way to navigate all that. Okay, so our best course of action, you said, is basically don't let the fear get us as far as it goes, right? Okay, so let's talk about, let's leave. Hi, Tracy, nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. Let's leave the coronavirus and talk about fear in our lives, period. Because somebody asked me, like when I first started with my channel, how does fear and learned fear from a young age affect, I wish I could find that question, affect us in our adult life? And how do we speak to that or address that, or and how does it slow us down? How does it slow us down? All that stuff.
Oh God, yeah. Fear is part of the shadow. And we're talking about childhood here, but what about past lives in which you've been persecuted for your gifts, persecuted for your beliefs? And most people that are in this community, we have done a pledge to bring light into this plane, either in this lifetime or previous ones. It's a path we've walked. So we are traumatized from previous lifetimes and from even childhood, because sometimes we chose to incarnate in places where the people around us did not have the spiritual evolution that we have. So our gifts were seen as something bad.
Yes.
And our drive and our interests were deemed something like unimportant. And why do you I paint. When I was a child, my mother would not let me paint. She would never let me take a painting class, because for her that was losing your time. But that's something that my soul needs. It's something that I need, because my soul needs to express through that media for some reason.
Right.
So what happens with fear is that it stops your growth, right? I always tell my patients, the way to grow is to refrain from doing or saying things that you are reacting and automatically doing or saying. And when you are afraid to do or say something, face it and do it.
Okay, say that again. Do you mind?
These are the two things. When you are reacting in a certain way, and when you feel compelled to say something like automatically, like it's a reaction, you have to stop yourself, because those are the ways we've managed things before that are not necessarily the best ways.
Right.
So I'm sorry?
The knee-jerk reaction.
Exactly. You stop to catch yourself before you do that and stop. Then you go through a process where you think it's just the way I want to react, and then you decide how do you want to react. Okay, that's one end of getting out of the comfort zone, because you stop doing what you've always been doing. And the other end is when you're afraid to do or say something, that's when you have to push yourself to do it and say it.
Because you're pushing through that comfort zone.
Exactly.
Right, you're pushing through that barrier.
And the barrier is fear, because you're afraid to do or say something.
Yes.
So it just keeps us in the same, comfort zone and not growing as individuals.
Right.
So that's the importance of facing fear and saying, it's not going to kill you.
Right.
You know, fear is not going to kill you. You have, what do I do about this? Because that's a way of giving your power away. If you don't say something and you stay in a relationship. I recently went through something, like I was dating someone, and yeah, he was nice, whatever, but then a month into the dating, he just had an explosion of his temper and blamed it on the weather. And I'm like, no. And then the second time this happened, I'm like, no. And he blamed it on being a little sick. But then there was those microaggressions. And I said, no, I'm sorry, this is not working for me. And that for me was breaking a pattern. Because in my childhood, I had an abusive relationship. You know, you learn to just take it.
To take it, right. Yes, that's just the way it works. Yes.
And you're afraid to say whatever you need to say or do and stop it and get boundaries because you're afraid of the reaction, because it happened when you were a child and that was an adult, but you're not there anymore.
Right.
You know, you have to take care of yourself. You have to face that fear and take that step. And many times it's because we don't want to hurt anyone else.
I was going to say, sometimes it's just because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Okay, let's look here real quick. Leanne, it's good to see you. Everybody saying hi. Teresa, I'm here and I'm very interested in the human behavior of those facing the prospect of the pandemic. Okay, so will common sense prevail? Before you answer that, hand high, it's good to see you, Elizabeth. You have a question mark A. Love from the Northwoods. If you want to, this is still true. We will always be persecuted for being different, but am I naive, or is it true that love always wins? TA says, sounds working. Wow, I'm shivers. Thank you. Night diamonds make sense. Little Miss Abundance, me afraid. Okay, so Teresa wants to know, what do you think the human behavior, she's interested in the human behavior of those that are facing the prospect of the pandemic, and she wants to know, will common sense prevail? And then Elizabeth wants to know, is she being naive to say love always wins?
Love always wins, and that battle is won in another level already. You know, as I said at the beginning, we are in the middle of a huge shift, and what's happening is that the people who have been doing the work, the people who have been walking towards being more conscious and more loving and healing themselves and looking into their darkness and we have a path that we've already walked. Right. So we are in a much better position to face anything.
Right.
The changes and the Aquarian Age coming in and all these changes that are going to happen in our consciousness are already happening. But there's a lot of people who have done none of this work.
Right.
And you can't expect them to have common sense during something like this.
Right.
Because it's their level of consciousness. This is a school, and we have people who are in pre-K or not even in school, and we have people who have postdoctorates. I mean,
right.
It's not going to be even. There's going to be different reactions, but you have to choose where you're going to stand.
Right, because I mean, I saw some stuff in the news about people like going on frenzies, buying up supplies and getting in fights over the supplies. And I'm like, wow, like I didn't even go to the store and get anything, but I'm in Louisiana, but not that I'm smarter or better by any means, but I'm thinking, okay, do I need to get prepared for something? But so what you're saying is there's people out there that are going to freak out, period.
Of course. Yes.
But so back to us that are walking this spiritual journey, that see it a little differently. And I said, what's the course of action? You said just to let go of the fear, basically. Let's talk about Mother Teresa for a second. And the reason I want to talk about her is because sometimes what we feel we're obligated to pray, but does it benefit us to pray against something, or are we better sending love to the people who are fighting it? Like you said, I think we talked for about 2 minutes before we got on live, and you said you really try to see the beauty in all destruction, no matter the destruction. And Mother Teresa would do the same thing. She'd walk through the streets with dead people everywhere and look at the flowers. She would find the beauty among everything. So as a spiritual person, if we have spiritual groups, if we want to meditate to raise the energy of the planet, does that help? And what would we do or say to go about that, or praying or whatever?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
What I would do is align myself with divine will. So that means you don't know what it is.
Yeah. Right.
And just pray for the will of the highest order. I don't really like the word God, because so many things have been projected on that word that are not necessarily true. I think there's a higher intelligence that it's there. I mean, you can see it work. Otherwise, this world would not exist. It would fall apart.
Right.
What I would do, and that's what I align myself with, is to the higher will, to the will of the universe. I mean, if this is happening, there's a reason. I trust that the universe has a very important reason for this to be happening right now, and try to see the beauty in it, which for me is, it's just cleaning space for the Aquarian Age. That's all it's doing. It's just clearing
Right.
up space. And if we look at it in some other way, we know that the planet cannot sustain the amount of people that are living in the planet. I mean,
This is true.
we are in the 11th hour. I mean, and the universe will have a way of, making space for things to go, in a better way. That's the way I see it.
Right. So there have been some people who have said that the coronavirus, and I don't believe this by any means, but I would just like for you to speak to it also. I think you just did, but that the coronavirus is like the wrath of God taking out people, that blah, blah, blah. Again, I think you just spoke to it, but do you have anything further to say there?
For me, that's a projection of their own shadow. I mean, I remember once when I was in psychiatry residency, I've been reading tarot since I'm a kid. I had my tarot with me and I was using it, and I was talking to people using the tarot. And one of the residents, who was a very fundamental Christian kind of person, she was like, "Oh no, that the devil is in those cards." And I took one and showed it to her, and I said, "I'm sorry, this is a piece of cardboard with little drawings on it. If you see the devil in a little drawing, it is in your mind. It's not really in this piece of cardboard. I mean, it's in your mind."
Right.
If you look at things from that perspective, that's what you're going to see.
Right.
But for me, it's just part of nature.
Right.
It's part of a higher order that's doing what it needs to do.
Yeah. It's part of the natural process.
Yes.
The natural process. Okay. So Michelle has a question. Her mom's going to be 70 this year, and she's got COPD, congestive heart failure, and has had fever and a cold now. And the doctors gave her antibiotics and sent her home. She says, as far as she knows, she hasn't been exposed. But so in a case like that, being the responsible daughter, when do we say, hey, do we need to do this test? I mean, they hadn't been exposed as far as we know, but we don't know who has it. Because some people can transfer it before they have symptoms. So did she come into contact with somebody? Like, is she in a nursing home? Or Michelle, that's a question for you. Is she in a nursing home or communal living where possibly she could have been exposed and they just don't know it because nobody's exhibiting symptoms yet? What would you do as the child advocating for a parent?
I would probably push for the test to be done. Probably she'll just come against the wall, because the CDC has made some specific considerations for, they don't have the tests. So but really, we all have to have common sense. Don't shake hands. I've been telling my patients, virtual handshaking, and they start laughing, trying to make them understand you can't be shaking hands with people. You need to wash your hands. The virus has a fatty covering. It's made up of fats. So just simple soap, it's going to kill it. Wash your hands. Don't be, touching things that other people are touching. Just be a little more aware,
Right.
And
It's like during flu season.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. The coronavirus is a dry cough. It doesn't mean that two viruses cannot coexist. She can have another virus and have the coronavirus too, but it's a dry cough. And what she needs is to observe if everything, if she starts having more dyspnea, which is an inability to breathe, that's, she should be taken to the hospital, of course,
Yeah.
It's common sense. Just have common sense.
Right. So
It's
she
not
says,
sneezing and yeah.
right. She says her mom does not live in a communal living like a nursing home. She actually lives alone, and she gets out and goes to the grocery store sometime. And I guess my other question would be, is it a big metropolitan area? Because then she'd be more at risk.
Yes.
But yeah, so I would advocate for her and at least ask for the test. Like you said, you may not get it because the CDC does have very strict
I
regulations.
would
Yeah.
use a lot of vitamin C. I think that's very important. Vitamin C. There's some treatments that have been approved that, for example, having high doses of vitamin C intravenously, that's a very good treatment for any kind of virus, and they're recommending it for this.
Oh, wow.
There's some evidence that ACE inhibitors, which are medications that are used for high blood pressure, might help because the virus needs to use that specific enzyme, which is a specific enzyme to go into the cells. So people who are taking ACE inhibitors, even in low doses, theoretically should be more protected than people who are not.
Okay, that's nice to know.
And a
Okay.
lot of people are on high blood pressure medications. They might have some, they don't know it, but they're already taking an ACE inhibitor.
Right. So Teresa's wanting to know, wait, I have another question too before Teresa. Andrea, PhD, could it also be that as you start to feel unusually sick, you seek out help when you normally would not? I think she might be speaking to the virus being a social, making you more sociable whenever you get it. That's that study that you went and watched.
Well, they were just social in the park, and everywhere they were going out more. And that was what they were measuring. They were going out and trying to meet with people more than usual. So,
right. And that was just a study that somebody did that they shared with you, and it was like blew your mind. So
yes.
You're not necessarily saying that's what happens, but that's what that study showed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it could be that too, that people feel unusually sick, so seek out other people. That could also be a thing. So Teresa wants to know, when does it serve the collective to stand down from hoarding or ignorance and release the mob mentality?
I think that's a very individual choice. I mean, all you can do is educate and remember that when you are in a state of peace and you are in a harmonized state, that's energy, and your energy seeps out, and it affects the people around you. So you cannot control what other people are doing. You cannot control what other people are thinking, but you can control what you are doing and thinking. And your energy adds up to more people remaining calm and, staying in a different mentality and trying to share it with other people, which is the only thing you can do, Yeah,
that's right. Okay, so there was another question on here. Let's see. Oh, Delilah wants you to please define our own shadow. When I asked something about somebody saying that it was the wrath of God, and you said, I think sometimes that's us projecting our own shadow on what they think God's going to do. Mm-hmm. She would like for you to clarify or define own shadow in that respect.
Well, that's the shadow self, and those are the parts of yourself that you're not aware of, that usually include fear, addiction, anger, rage, right? And they're repressed. So because they're repressed, you tend to project them outside. And it's that
Right.
mentality of us versus them, you know? Of course, these people would say it's the wrath of God, you know, trying to punish the sinners in the world, because they
Yeah.
are bad people and they are the ones who have brought this upon us, not me.
Right.
You know? Which is totally, it's a fracture of a person. It's not a whole person that understand that you are capable of rage, you are capable of every negative thing in the world. Instead they just project it outside, you know.
Right. It's coming from that place of fear,
Yes.
like we were talking about earlier, that internal fear,
Mhm.
that our world's being punished because of something that's a sin or whatever. I remember, I'm just going to say, whenever I was very steeped in the church, when the AIDS virus came out, that's exactly what my thought was. I remember driving down the road one time and I saw a sign about the AIDS virus, and I remember saying, well, that's the wrath of God taking care of all those gays. That was way before I was woke up.
Mhm.
But that was me projecting my insecurities out onto this community.
And in a way, if you look at it, it's kind of you feel safe because you believe that it's going to affect other people, not you.
Right.
Like you're not part of humanity, like you're not part of this group.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's like a, in a way you feel safer. And this is the problem with this transition, because we are so adapted to this fear-based mentality that is stagnant, that it's like a comfort zone. Walking away from that and seeing the beauty in whatever is happening and saying, well, it is what it is, you know, it's part of our evolution as a species, because everything is part of the evolution. This time,
Right.
coronavirus is going to kill people, a lot of people, but as the years go by, we're going to have a better immunity against it, and we're going to have a vaccine against it, and it's going to change. The story is going to change. It's just like the Spanish flu. When it came the first time around, it killed a lot of people. It's the same
Right.
thing.
Okay, so let's talk about that from a different perspective for a minute. Elizabeth is saying many blessings and much love to all, and she's so grateful, ladies, and thank you for making time to help people understand and release the fear. So let's talk about this for a second. When it comes to, because just now whenever you were saying, the coronavirus is going to kill a lot of people, and it made me immediately jump back to 9/11, 9/11, and I read something or listened to I don't remember if it was Dolores Cannon. I don't remember who it was. Somebody was saying, these type of people, probably that was part of their agreement as a soul group, we're going to leave in this mass exit. Same thing with the tsunami, probably the flu every year. We're going to choose to leave in a mass exit or whatever, to help wake people up to things like you got to let go of fear, to things like we got to quit judging people, to things like we got to take authority over our own lives or whatever. So do you agree with that kind of statement, that whenever something like this, that it could be people who that was actually in their soul planning, that they were going to leave at that time?
Completely. I mean, let me tell you the story.
Okay.
My daughter was going for her spring break vacation like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, to Italy.
Oh, wow.
What happened was the carrier that she had bought the plane tickets for went into bankruptcy. So they called her and told her, we can get you there, but we don't have a way to get you back because the bankruptcy and they were closing in between. So they refunded all the money and gave her all the money back. So she ended up not going to Italy, but she decided to go to Nashville, Tennessee. So she came back, and a few days after she came back, the tornado happened and kill a lot of people. So I texted her and I go like, you know, Missy, you need to give a break to your guardian angel. It's been 2 hits that you have missed. You better lay low.
Yes.
I mean, what are the odds that she was going to Italy where this was going on and it was canceled, and then she went to Nashville and she came back exactly before the tornado because it was not meant to be for her.
It's not meant to be for her, right? When it's our time, it's our time, and it's not some God up there deciding when we're going to die. It's basically, and you know, I have to say, really and truly, that gives me, coming from my background, to me, that gives me a whole lot more liberty and a whole lot more authority in my life. And it also gives me a whole lot more love and respect for that higher power, for the creator, God, the universe, whatever anybody wants to call it. It's like, thank you for loving me enough to let me have some say-so in my life.
Yes.
You know, that's a big deal for me. I think we might have some questions. Hang on. Teresa's saying, yeah, eventually calmer minds are going to prevail. Let's see, Tony Lubbers, a couple of months out of a relationship, he's been stalking me. I got a restraining order, but my fear level is very high, not going anywhere, looking over my shoulders. I know he's winning. I'm scared. Tony, I am so sorry to hear that. And Michelle saying, hi, Tony, been there and know what you're going through. Stay strong. Call the cops. Yes, the moment he crosses the line. Her experience with standing up to him scared him. Most are just bullies. Guys, Tony, I'll be sending you lots of love and courage, and email me if you need something or have any questions, if there's anything I can do.
Let me tell you something about that. Okay.
You heard that whole thing?
Oh, yes. The chains of fear and hate are so much more solid than the chains of love. In terms of chains of love are made like I would say like flowers. They're delicate, they bind you together, but they're not chained. Love does not chain you, right? You're free when you love someone. When you have such a bond, when there's fear and violence, it keeps that person in your personal aura, in your personal space. So she needs to transform that fear. That doesn't mean she's not going to do what she needs to do. She needs to be on top of it, call the police, everything she's doing and more. But I would recommend she does the Ho'oponopono at night.
Ho'oponopono, yes.
Whenever he comes into her mind, whenever during the day, no matter what, I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. No, what I missed one. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. And what is the other one? I forgot the other one. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
I love you and thank you. Yes. I love that.
Sorry. So I'm sorry, a lot of people say, why should I say I'm sorry if he's the one who hurt me? Yeah, because you have to. Because you want to be free of that bond.
Well, and you know what I have found, and I'm glad you brought this up, because it really, not just in fear, but in bondage and any kind of negative situation, what I find is I will start out thinking I'm saying it to them to heal the energy. But as it turns out, I realize I'm saying it to my higher self and my inner child for allowing me to be put in that position, for allowing myself to be there. Not taking on guilt, but also releasing myself from not protecting that inner child better, so to speak. So yeah, I would say that would be I agree with you. Ho'oponopono. So Tony, if you want to look that up, Ho'oponopono, it is very life-changing. I've done it in several situations.
And Ho'oponopono, in a way, I see it returns you to your innocence, which is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And when you're innocent, you don't need to be punished, because this is like a constant punishment to have someone, stalking you and you're afraid of someone hurting you. but when you return to your innocence, there's no need for that dynamic to be happening anymore.
Right. And I don't know how it works, but it does really put a halt to them doing what they do. I don't know how that works,
It
but
just
it does.
takes the person out of your energetic field in some way.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yes.
It's wild. It does take a lot of work. Don McCoy, love is the key. Afterlife is all love. Start practicing in this life. Yes, Don, we agree. Okay, so guys, we're about 10 minutes out from the top of the hour. So if you have questions for Dr. T, definitely put question marks before and after your statement so that we can address them. Yes, Tony, I did. I had a session on that. Yes, and you watched it. I'm so excited to hear that. And I'll tell you what, do you teach Ho'oponopono on any of your websites or anything?
No. I recommend it to my patients. I write it down, the 4 little phrases. As long as you do it anytime the person comes into your mind, it works.
Yes, I agree.
There's buy an online course or anything.
Right. So yeah, Tony, definitely do that because it really does work. Tyler's saying, does it work with narcissism? Yes, it works with everything. Yes. For some way or another. If you go Google it, Tyler, especially for you, if you want to go Google it and read the story about the man who he emptied out a whole insane asylum.
Yes, he was a psychiatrist.
Just by doing Ho'oponopono.
And what he would do, he would take the records because these people, he thought they were beyond help, and he would put his hands on the records and start doing Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. That's
Yes, and he never saw face to face not one of those people. He did it all by the energy on the files. It was wild. So yeah. Okay, so our main thing with the coronavirus or anything else, domestic violence and all that, is we have to find a way to release that fear because fear will bind us down, right?
And this is like such a beautiful example of how we can get so crazy because of fear.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
It's you need to prepare. Yeah, of course you need to have, but we all have food in our pantries for a month. Most of us. Come on.
Right.
2 weeks, 3 weeks. We have it.
Just
prepare. It's just in case you have to be quarantined. That's all you have to prepare for.
Yeah.
Use common sense and stay centered.
Stay centered.
Stay connected to source. And
right.
remember that what's going to happen, it's going to happen. There's nothing you can do.
Yes.
And you have to be at peace because, when it's our time, it's our time. And most of us, it's not going to be our time. No, not at all. It's going to be a mild thing,
Right. Okay, so Delilah would like for you to address a little bit more about the Aquarian Age.
Yes. As I said, it starts to set in this year, and it's going to be a process of 4 years. At the end of the 4th year, Pluto is the last planet that's going to join the party, and it marks the complete, move into the Aquarian Age. And the next 6 months, there are going to be a lot of changes, changes in the structures. What Aquarius is gonna, the Age of Aquarius is gonna do is gonna break down most institutions, and that includes politics, religions, familial structures are gonna change, and everything that's kept us subject to either fear or a structure of control and power.
And that might be kind of scary for us to watch, right? Even though we know what's going on, it's going to even freak us out, I think.
Yes. Yes. That's why we need to be centered.
Yes.
And understand that it's like when you're giving birth to a child, it is messy. It is painful. It is, for the child especially, it's like he was cozy in this little space where we were in the Piscean Age, letting other people decide for us and letting other people decide our spiritual paths and tell us what it should look like, instead of owning our own paths and having a social structure that we were told this is the way it is. You work and you work hard and you make money, and then you have little time to rest and whatnot, whatever it is. And where they're comfortable, although the baby is tight in there and he cannot really move anymore, and it's and then something starts to happen when he has to go through this very, very narrow space to get to the other side. And when they get to the other side, there's light, and their eyes hurt because they've never seen anything. When you touch a baby, it hurts because they've never been touched. They're inside that cozy place, and then suddenly they have, all this, and they start feeling hunger, and they start needing going to the bathroom and poo-poo, which he has, it's painful.
Yeah, it's all this crazy stuff is happening. Yeah,
and he lost restrictions because he was restricted where he was. He couldn't grow anymore in there, but it's a messy process and takes up some adaptation on the other side. The more conscious you are about what's happening, the less you will buy into the fear.
Right. Because there will be people saying these are the last days, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Okay. So Elizabeth wants to know, can we spell it? But I think Michelle, yes, Michelle, Ho'oponopono. Yes. I mean, you kind of thank you, Michelle. You kind of barely put the letters in, and it's like Google picks up, how do you spell Ho'oponopono? Yes, you'll love all the videos because it is very beautiful about Ho'oponopono. There is a lot of information out there. So Tracy wants to know, isn't an age 1,250 years? Or like, how long have we, I thought it was like 2,300 years. So see, that's different thoughts out there. Go ahead.
I'm not sure how much it is.
Yeah.
I just know that we had a taste of the Aquarian Age when the hippies were on. That was the first time the planets aligned in such a way that would resemble what will happen. And if you remember that age, forget about the drugs, because the drugs, for what I've read, were implanted by the CIA to stop the movement. But what they wanted was, less structures, and they owned their own process, and they were free to love whoever they wanted, free of the work 9 to 5 structures, and they wanted a different life. They wanted equality. They wanted wars to end. They wanted to live in communities where everybody would be supporting each other. Of course, that was an early experiment, but now this is not going to be stopped.
Right, because it's a different paradigm. It's a different dynamic, I think.
In species, when we're evolving, this is something that has been found when there's evolution in species. Like, they had these monkeys develop a new something new that they could do that they couldn't do before, and they were isolated in an island. And what happened was that when enough individuals from that species in that island developed, they call it a critical mass. When they developed that new talent, that new thing, it spread to the whole species, even in other islands when they did not have any contact. Same thing. Yes, that's consciousness, that's the collective unconscious, right? When we, as a critical mass of individuals, go to a higher level of understanding and consciousness, and we start doing our own inner job. This is why it's so important that you do it yourself. Don't look at what other people are doing. This is your process. And by you doing it yourself, what Jung would call the process of individuation, when you do it by yourself and you come in contact with your higher self, and you integrate yourself, and you integrate your shadow, and you integrate all parts of yourself, and this is your work, you are doing a service to humanity, because you become one more individual that has achieved this to get a critical mass where everyone will get it.
Yes, I love that.
It's true.
And I love how adamant you are about doing it on your own, because we're all so different. I'll often say there's 7.8 billion people on this planet, and none of us have the same thumbprint. Yes. I mean, it is an individual journey, but a collective one at the same time. But the structures of this is, you take this step, that step, and that step, and something happens. Of course, like with Tony, we just told her do Ho'oponopono, but it's worked for me. It's worked
has
for
to do it
you.
herself.
Yes.
And it's not about going and confessing to a priest and saying you're absolved of your. No, you have to do the inner work.
Yes.
Because it's going to be hard for her to tell him, I'm sorry, to tell him, please forgive me, when she's the one who feels who's been wronged.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for what? He's just hurt me. I love you. I hate you. No, I love you.
Right.
That's a process of changing all her energy into something different.
Yes. Yes. And again, like I said, whenever I would do it, it would just turn back to me. And I was actually, and I don't know how many times I'd say it before it turned back, but it seemed like I was always starting out mentally talking to them, but then it would turn and I was talking to me and I'd cry. It was like almost too much to bear.
Yes.
But
you know, I did, for a while I did ascension. Do you know the Ishaya's ascension techniques? I met some of the international teachers. I've had a few very interesting experiences in my life. And one of the things I learned through the ascension techniques and with these teachers was that no one has ever done anything to me, that I don't need to forgive anyone. I came up to that point that I understood there's nothing to forgive. I chose this and this and this and this. And the only person I need to forgive is myself for choosing what I chose, which is exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it is kind of hard though for us to swallow that along the journey, you know. It is kind of hard for us to accept that. We want to take 100% responsibility, but I know that for the most part, it is hard for people to accept that. I had a hard time accepting it for a very long time, but I also noticed that I actually took the blame for some things that I actually didn't need to be taking the blame for, and I would not put accountability on that other person. And I think, were you saying something about that earlier? Yeah, sometimes we live in fear because it's our the way we're brought up, that we're not supposed to come against somebody else. Yeah.
We learn that we are the ones that can make it better because we take it personally. Like when we have a parent that's not happy, we try to make him happy. But we can't do that because they're supposed to find their own happiness. It's not on you. But you don't know that as a child.
No. And sometimes we don't know that as a grown child, because we're so accustomed to doing it that we just keep trying to do it. So we're at 7:59. There's one more question. What do you think about the egg theory? Are you familiar with the egg theory?
No, I don't know what it is.
Nina, we're not familiar with that. The egg theory. I don't know what that is either. But guys, that is Deep Dive tonight with Dr. T. And I'm sure that if we asked nicely, she might agree to come on again in another month, 4 to 6 weeks or so. We can visit again.
Yeah. I love to do it. Yes.
Good. I'm so glad. And
what they want to talk about, and then we'll try to talk about something that they're interested in.
Yes, if y'all want to email me or put in the comments on this about what y'all would like to talk about next time, if y'all have something specific in the next 4 to 6 weeks, then Dr. T will try to be more specific on a topic. Right now, we definitely wanted to talk about fear, especially with the coronavirus running around out there. But we have some pretty serious situations going out there. Michelle, you do with your mom. Tony, you do with what's going on in your life. And there was another lady that I'm not familiar with that was on, and she even asked if we could pray for her.
Of course.
Manda Pruitt. Her mother is a narcissist over 40 years, and I just recently cut off ties with her. I'm sure is what, I know you didn't cut her toes off, and that's not funny, but I'm sure that was a typo. But so and I do you mind?
What?
Do you mind if I pray with them, or
just
raise up? You know, I just feel like you know what? I'm just going to do it. God guides angels, archangels, and Holy Spirit. You're our team, and we're so grateful that you give us the opportunity to visit with each other and to truly be able to garner valuable knowledge from each other, that you give us groups of people, groups of like-minded people that can lift us up and help us to remember that when it's all said and done, that we have the authority and we have the power in our lives. And I just want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for raising up the courage and the love and the strength with Tony right now, that she can be able to say, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you, and forgive me, to push herself through this, or whatever it is that she needs to do, that you'll be able to give her the spirit guides and the angels, that you'll be able to give her the things that she needs to walk through this journey and pull the information from it that's going to benefit her on the other side. And for Michelle's mother, I just thank you that no disease has power over us, that we can release it, and that Michelle can help her mother release this and continue to live in a healthy and beneficial way for her as she moves forward. And for, I can't remember again, the little girl, Elizabeth, no, the lady who has the narcissist mom, I thank you again, and I thank you that she does have the ability to move forward in her life free from anybody attacking her or making her feel less than. That I thank you that she's here to understand that she has the power and the knowledge and the authority in her life, and I send her also strength and love and courage. All three of these women and everybody on this chat, the strength, the love, and the courage that they need as they walk forward in these times. So be it.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, guys. So we are going to be done now with YouTube. Don't forget, if you have something specific you would like for Dr. T to talk about on the next live, just go ahead and put it in the comments, and I'll try to email her. She'll be able to have access to that too. Or email me, or Dr. T, how can they reach you if they want to email you about a particular topic?
Yes, it's deliatoledomd@gmail.com.
Spell it.
Deliatoledomd@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. So if you want to reach Dr. T, you can reach her at that email address, and I'll try to put it in the replay description too. I love you guys so much. I look forward to seeing y'all again next time. And until then, y'all all go out and have a super duper day.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Dr. T. We appreciate you.